Thanks so much for having me here to TEDx, and I know we're probably all thinking about all the problems we have around the world. It seems like we have 6 billion problems. But the thing is, no matter how overwhelming and unstoppable each of these issues might seem, we need to remember there are 6 billion of us, each with a passion, each with a skill set. And when we each work to do our part, we start chipping away at these problems and start finding new solutions. And what better group to take this task on than our cohort, the next generation of leaders, the young people here in the room today and around the world who are watching. Young people are better equipped and better positioned to become leaders for the issues that are challenging us because more than any other generation before us, we're more aware of what's happening around the world. Because of technology, because of the interconnectedness of our society, globalization is no longer just a global business body. It is the simple reality of our lives, that no matter where we live in our world, we are interconnected with one another, and because of Facebook and Twitter, we can like and understand the issues that affect us and understand how each thing multiplies around the world. Every single one of us, ultimately, is impacting our world. Our conscious decisions every single day of our lives, for the better or for worse, make a difference in the products we consume and the issues we choose to take a stand for and not take a stand for. And ultimately, that is the essence of the power of one. How the individual that every single one of us makes a difference in our lives. But for me, that small tipping point between understanding the world that's around us and the issues that face us and making the conscious decision to take positive change to better our world begins with one simple tool: finding your passion. For me, I was fortunate enough to find my passion at an early age. I always say the best gifts my parents ever gave me was the gift of news and the gift of travel. We couldn't afford to travel to far exotic places around the world, but we went on simple camping trips around North America. And it was on one of those camping trips I saw a bear, and it ignited my curiosity. I wanted to learn more. When I returned home and saw a story on the evening news about plans being drawn up to develop the home of the Kodiak bear in Alaska, I didn't think it was right. I thought it was an assault on that same bear I'd seen on my camping trip, and I wanted to do something. And of course, the answer of what to do was obvious: have a lemonade stand. So over the course of the summer, I started selling lemonade, and I shudder to think how much money my mother spent buying it. But by the end of the summer, I collected the $60 and sent it away with letters to President Bush Sr. and Prime Minister Mulroney asking for the Kodiak bear to be protected. Well, a few months later, this amazing thing happened. I received a letter back in the mail saying the Kodiak bear was saved. And of course, I thought, yes, I saved the Kodiak bear. Obviously, I didn't. But it planted that seed that I realized that every single person who took the time to give this bear a voice did help protect it, and taught me that one person could indeed change the world. Armed with a passion for bears and a belief that I could make a difference, at 13, I found out about another unique creature, the rare white Kermode or spirit bear found only on Canada's west coast and numbering fewer than 400. I was amazed. As a passionate British Columbian, as a passionate Canadian, as an engaged global citizen, again, I wanted to do something to help safeguard their future. The campaign that started as a letter-writing campaign in my middle school grew to a global issue. We were able to inspire and empower young people from around the world to give a voice to a bear that did not have one. And through successive land use plans, we're able to protect a portion of its habitat while continuing to find ways to work towards its ultimate long-term protection by creating meaningful sanctuary, not by always perpetually enhancing a political campaign, but by thinking of new, innovative ideas to solve these long-stale debates. That's what led to making a major Hollywood animated movie that would see a portion of every ticket sold go back towards helping save this bear. But really, this entire campaign, the entire journey that I've been on, from lemonade stand to Hollywood movie, has been humbling and inspiring for me personally in terms of realizing what I can give for the world, but it's been about something far greater. It's been about proving that one powerful idea that one person can make a difference. For me, I was a shy kid who had no desire to lead. I had no desire to stand in front of an audience and talk to them about an endangered bear. But I did it because I was passionate. I did it because I believed in what I was trying to do was so important and that this bear needed a voice. And it wasn't that I was the best equipped or the smartest person to lead this campaign. Far from it. But I was one of the people who was the most passionate. And as I said, I learned early on that passion is the fuel that drives change. I coupled that with the realization of knowing that if you wanted to be a true advocate for something, you needed to focus. And I focused on this issue as intently as I could. Not only standing up for what I believe was right, but putting myself in other people's shoes to understand why people might not agree with me, why some would understand the importance of taking down the trees this bear relied on as its home, and the importance of trying to find ways to not demonize others for their position, but by engaging them and bringing them into the circle and finding ways to understand and work together to create a solution that could make everybody proud of a collective achievement. I realized that I would never get anywhere if I didn't bother to ask questions. I remember once when I was 15 years old, having no power and no connections and no influence, learning that Prince William and Prince Harry were coming to Vancouver. And finding out that these famous people were going to be in Vancouver, I realized I had to try to reach them to encourage them to lend their voice to the Spirit Bear. I went down to one of the public appearances, and there was a bit of a pathway, and on one side you had the paparazzi, and on the other side you had about 300 screaming girls waving roses, saying, "Prince William, will you marry me?" And amongst those 300 screaming girls was me, waving a book on the Spirit Bear, asking them, "Please, will you help us try to protect this bear?" And of course, they came over and they started talking to me about the bear, and that was incredible. And the media that came out of it was even more amazing for me at 15. But there were two much more valuable lessons. I realized that by daring to ask them, people who were more famous and more powerful or more wealthy than I could ever possibly imagine being, that if maybe, if I could get them, I could get anybody. And that taught me that if you don't ask, you don't get. To ask everybody to get involved. And I also realized how interconnected these issues are. While the Spirit Bear may have been a world away from the princes in the UK, I realized that it's a global animal. The panda bear may live only in China, but we all care what happens to it. The Spirit Bear may live only in BC and be part of British Columbia's natural inheritance, but in many ways it's Canada's panda bear. It's a global treasure that everyone, everywhere deserves to have a say in its future. And that truly is the essence of all of these issues, of all the issues we face in our world. It's not that one's more important than another. Far from it. I know saving the Spirit Bear isn't the greatest challenge facing our world, nor the greatest environmental challenge facing Canada. But it is an important issue that deserves a voice, and by protecting it, not only are we protecting a rare bear, but we're protecting its ecosystem, and the importance of that ecosystem not only for this bear or Canada, but its role in our global ecosystem, and how that one bear in that one small corner of the world sustains one of the largest land carbon sinks on the planet, and how that affects every single person in our world. But in the doing, I'm trying to build this campaign, we can empower people around the world to help save the Spirit Bear, but then to allow the Spirit Bear to give back to them and empower them to take on the issues that challenge for them. I remember one of my colleagues with my organization was one of the first journalists to go into Iraq after the US invasion. And she was touring around a suburb in Baghdad. And she met a family. And she felt hopeless, like any of us would in that situation. And all she had with her was her notepad and, coincidentally, a poster of the Spirit Bear. She gave the poster to the child, and the child went away and wrote a letter to the Premier BC asking for their bear to be saved. And as she was leaving the interview from the family, this boy handed her the letter. And she turned to him and said, "Why? You got a war in your backyard." And he said, "Because maybe, just maybe, if I can help protect this bear, I can help learn what I can do for my own world." And that's what all of our acts are doing. It's not that one's more important than another. It's that for every challenge we take on, it is exhausting, it is tiring, it is draining. But we are not just trying to stand up for those issues we care about, we're trying to enhance each other's lives and create community for ourselves and mentor each other to learn from our successes and our many failures, and I've had many, to remind all of us that we are the engineers of these trains that run our world. We are the ones who choose what kind of world we live in. And while sometimes we may think, well, I can't even decide what time I'm going to go to bed tonight or what I'm going to do tomorrow, we must remember we're all united by one common gift, the gift of a voice. And when we each choose to use our voice for the issues and the things that we care about, that we affect in our daily lives, change starts adding up. In the months leading up to our first agreement in 2001, we sent 25,000 letters from young people alone to the Premier of British Columbia. It was one letter the Premier picked up and decided it was time to do something about the spirit bear, but it took all 24,999 letters to make that one letter count. And that's the power of one, united as one voice. And it doesn't matter whether we're trying to protect the spirit bear, or build a skateboard park in our community, or create a new innovative business, or trying to rid the world of cancer. There are simply no insignificant endeavors, and every time we stand up to act to improve the lot of others, we are opening doors, we are broadening horizons, and we're changing lives. As young people, we still have that idealism, that relentless, hopeless idealism that we can make a difference. But more importantly, we have a fresh set of eyes. We have the time, we have the ability to focus in on our passion and take huge risks. Sure, we need to start off small, understanding what our place is and where our connections are. But when we add that up, we will keep going for that impossible dream. And in the doing, we will find new ideas to long stale debates. Because we're not part of an old, tired ideological war. We're no longer about partisan lines. We're about finding and reminding people that the environment, for example, is a basic human necessity. It's not a left-wing or right-wing issue. It's a common value that unites every single person. It's a family values issue. It's a multi-partisan issue that can unite and should unite every person. And moving forward isn't about saying what's wrong. It's about saying what's right. It's about focusing in on innovation. And young people are the innovators for our world. You've got a new idea. Maybe it won't work, but maybe an essence of it can be redefined and reapplied to create that change. That's what young people around the world have done for the spirit bear, and I hope will continue to do for it. But that's that broader message, that through all these acts, that we are reminding people of creating an undeniable mechanism of hope that can reinforce each other to create community and illustrate that the greatest sin is not trying, but that by trying, anything we dream is possible, and our missions are most certainly winnable. Because we are the voices for the poor, the sick, the children, the dreamers, the bears. I believe trying is our most important endeavor and our greatest tool for a better tomorrow. For me, that begins by saving this undeniably irreplaceable bear. And for you, I'm not sure where it begins. But the great thing is that we're all here on a Sunday. We all probably could have done something different, done something a little more selfish, but we didn't. We took that time out to hear each other's stories, to learn from each other. And through that, we're finding our passions, we're understanding our skill sets, and we're finding ways to affect change, not in an old model, but in a new way no one's ever thought of before. Because there are those 6 billion problems, but there are those 6 billion of us, each with that passion, each with that skill set. And while it may seem frustrating some days, and almost impossible in the tasks that we're taking on, but we need to remember change is never assessed at the individual level. It's when we take that step back and remember it's a sum total of all our acts that'll be written in the history of this generation. And I do passionately believe it'll be this generation that saves the spirit bear and creates a better world for generations to come. Because in all our acts, we are reminding people that one person with no remarkable skills or intellect, but armed simply with a passion, can take hold of a cause and change the world. That's the power of one. Thank you so much. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.